Councilman Kinsler.
Here.
Councilman Lee.
Here.
Councilman Manchi.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Councilman Stokes.
Here.
We have 9 members present, 2 are absent.
The following notice of public hearing was published in the Hartford Courant Friday, May 10th, 2013. Town of Enfield legal notice public hearing. The Enfield Town Council will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chamber, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, May 20th, 2013, at 6:45 p.m. to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed acquisition of a .24-acre parcel of land located at 2 Chapel Street. Ground rules for the public hearing are as follows. There is no time limit, but I ask that each person not take up too much time so everyone will have an opportunity to speak. After each person who desires has had one chance to speak, I shall permit those individuals who desire a second chance. After those individuals who desire to speak a second time, I shall permit those individuals who desire a third, fourth, etc. time. And we ask that that you all refrain from the use of personalities. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on the proposed acquisition of a .24-acre parcel of land located at 2 Chapel Street? Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council for this public hearing? Margaret.
Margaret Jadziniak, Abbey Road, Enfield. I just was wondering, over the years, one of the councils had borrowed money from the town of Enfield, a few $100,000 on some of that property in that area, especially the old theater. And I was always wondering, as far as I know, up until now, I haven't been there lately, but I haven't heard of anyone paying any of that money back. And I would just like to know, before anybody does anything with any of that property there, if that money has been paid back to the taxpayers of the town of Enfield, for one thing. And I just don't understand what's really going on in the town of Enfield. Did we hit?
Now, Margaret, this is a public
okay.
hearing on the proposed
Okay.
acquisition of land.
Okay. Well, that is part of the land in that area there,
Okay.
okay? And is it the other part now, too?
Not yet. We have another public hearing, and then we'll have
That's
public.
part of what I would like to know about that part of the property up there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. Anyone else in the audience wishing to address the council on the proposed acquisition of property at 2 Chapel Street? For the first time, second time, third time, I close this public hearing. Matt, just to answer Margaret's question, because we can go to the next one, but in any of the title searches that we've done, any questions about funding from the town on 2 Chapel Street, or it's always been a private parcel?
It's, to the best of our knowledge, it's been private. So the town hadn't, at least what we found, the town has not put any money towards that property. And I think she was referring more to the Strand rather
Strand.
than this. Yeah.
So to the Strand, which would be to the left of the Lamagna Center, this being to the right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this is actually behind the Lamagna Center on Chapel.
Okay. Since it is 10:50, we can move to the second public hearing. A public hearing has been scheduled to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed acquisition of 3 parcels of land totaling 10.66 acres located on Moody Road. May we have roll call, please?
Let me save this for Jeanette.
Okay.
Sir, if you don't mind. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Councilman Arnone.
Here.
Councilman Vasco.
Here.
Councilman Crowley. Councilman Edgar.
Here.
Councilman Hall.
Here.
Mayor Copeland.
Here.
Councilman Kinsler.
Here.
Councilman Lee.
Here.
Councilman Mangini.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Councilman Stokes.
Here.
We have 10 members present, 1 is absent.
The following notice of public hearing was published in the Hartford Courant Friday, May 10th, 2013. Town of Enfield legal notice public hearing. The Enfield Town Council will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chamber, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, May 20th, 2013, at 6:50 p.m. to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed acquisition of 3 parcels of land totaling 10.66 acres located on Moody Road. The ground rules for the public hearing are as follows. There is no time limit, but I ask that each person not take up too much time so that everyone will have an opportunity to speak. After each person who desires has had 1 chance to speak, I shall permit those individuals who desire a second chance. After those individuals who desire to speak a second time, I shall permit those individuals who desire a third, fourth, etc. time. And again, we ask that you please refrain from the use of personalities. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council this evening concerning the public hearing on the proposed acquisition of 3 parcels of land totaling 10.66 acres located on Moody Road? Anyone going?
Don't know what property that is exactly.
Parcel, the 10.66 acres are, 1 parcel is in front of the current Public Works garage, and as you proceed down Moody Road towards Elm Street, it's a parcel of land that abuts Moody Road and goes towards the back, towards the police station. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council for the first time, for the second time, for the third time? Seeing none, I close this public hearing. And we have to wait for 5 minutes to start our regular meeting.
There's no motion, we're not in a meeting.
There's no motion, so. We are in recess. We are in recess for 5 minutes.
Sunday, I had someone come over, I rented the back lot from my attic. Someone's giving me $450 a month, putting 3 horses there that I don't have to take care of. So it covers 2/3 of my mortgage. Right. Oh, yeah.
Meeting back to order. And if everyone in the audience could please stand for a prayer led by Councilman Cynthia Mangini, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love, for it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. This is the prayer of St. Francis. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have roll call, please?
Councilman Mangini.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Councilman Stokes.
Here.
Councilman Arnone.
Here.
Councilman Bosco.
Here.
Councilman Crawley.
Here.
Councilman Edgar.
Here.
Councilman Hall.
Here.
Mayor Copen.
Here.
Councilman Kinsler.
Here.
Councilman Lee.
Here.
There's 11 members present, none are absent.
Next item on the agenda is the fire evacuation announcement. In the event of the fire alarm sounding here at Town Hall, I remind our audience that we must evacuate the building. Closest exit would be to the rear of council chambers and out to the front of Town Hall. But if you choose to take the side door to your right or left, we ask that you then take the back set of stairs to the back side of Town Hall and out to the parking lot. Minutes of the preceding meetings. We've got 5 different sets of meetings to approve. First would be the special meeting of May 2nd, 2013.
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Tom?
No, I was.
In
not
favor?
enough. In favor.
In favor. One abstention, Councilman Hall. Special meeting of May 6, 2013.
So moved.
By Councilman
Second.
Mangini, seconded by Councilman Kinsler. Discussion? Sensing none, by show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Regular meeting, May 6, 2013. By Councilman Hall, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Discussion? Show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Special meeting, May 8th, 2013.
So moved.
By Councilman Mangini, seconded by Councilman Kinsler. Discussion? Show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. And finally, the special meeting of May 9th, 2013. By Councilman Kinsler, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Any discussion? Sensing no, show of hands. All those in favor, those opposed, any abstentions? One abstention. Next item, special guest. We have no scheduled special guests for this evening, so we move to public communications and petitions. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the council, ask that you please raise your hand. I'll call on you. Please come forward to the front table. Please state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. I do time you. I will politely interrupt you at 4 minutes 30 and ask you to wrap up. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council this evening? Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council this evening? Margaret? No? Okay. No. All right. I thought she wanted to, so. All right. Very good. Councilman Communications and Petitions. Councilman Mangini.
Just a couple, just wanted to congratulate the Loaves and Fishes for their volunteer appreciation. As always, they have a wonderful dinner to honor the volunteers that help care for those that are not as fortunate as we are. I was at Sylvia's yesterday, and Councilman Arnone, Councilman Stokes, Mayor Copen, and I were there as guests, and it was a very nice event. I just wanted to say thank you to all the volunteers that do take their time to give to others. I also do want to recognize Memorial Day is this coming Monday, and perhaps while we're enjoying that free day, that we'll remember those who gave their lives for our country, and that we will have a safe holiday and hopefully an enjoyable parade on Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Councilman Bosco?
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone out there who's watching tonight that you have a vote at the Hazardville Fire Department, and now is your time to either vote for or against full-time firemen being employed. And just let you know, just a reminder, either if you're for or against, go out there and vote. Do what you need to do. If not, forever hold your peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Councilman Communications, Councilman Crowley.
Yeah, I have a personal note that I want to send to my son, Mike. Yesterday, we were fortunate enough to go down. We received an award down at the AquaTurf from the National Football Foundation and the College Football Hall of Fame, and he was one of 23 members that received the honor in the area for the Northern chapter. And I just want to congratulate him and embarrass him in public. So, congratulations, Michael.
Councilman Communications, Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Again, I will be leaving the meeting shortly to attend the Hazardville Fire Department budget vote, which we are able to vote on. I encourage all residents in District 3 Fire Department to attend the meeting, listen to what they have to say, and make an educated vote. Next, I'd like to make a motion and suspend the rules and move B3, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N to miscellaneous and proceed to vote.
Second.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Any discussion on the items being moved to miscellaneous? Sensing none, by show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? The items have been moved to miscellaneous. Any other, Councilman Hall?
Just a quick note, too. I'll be leaving as well to attend the Hazardville Fire District meeting to vote tonight. So Ken and I don't know if Bill may be leaving as well. So.
Any other councilman communications? I've got a couple. First of all, I want to congratulate Kevin James Mitchell. Kevin is a Boy Scout with Troop 2000, and Kevin attained the rank of Eagle Scout, and his Eagle Scout ceremony was this past Sunday at the Connecticut Trolley Museum in East Windsor. Troop 2000 is an Enfield-based scout troop, and Kevin undertook a very ambitious project and fully restored one of the antique trolley cars with assistance from his troop and family and friends. I've got the, not sure if ETV can come into the photo, but I'll pass this along to the council. But at the very top is the trolley car and the condition the trolley car was in prior to restoration. And at the bottom is the picture of the trolley car fully restored. Did a phenomenal job. So to Kevin, to his family, and to the scouts at Troop 2000, congratulations. I'll send this this way, and if you can pass it back so everyone down here can see it as well. I too want to thank the volunteers of Enfield Loaves and Fishes. Councilman Mangini spoke about it earlier, but Councilman Arnone, Councilman Stokes, Councilman Mangini, and myself attended, and just thanks to all the volunteers for the work that they do throughout the year at Enfield Loaves and Fishes. On Sunday, yesterday was a very busy day. The third event that I went to, and Councilman Lee was with me, we were there to participate in the 75th anniversary banquet of Boy Scout Troop 108, who are headquartered out of the Hazardville United Methodist Church. And again, it was their 75th annual banquet, anniversary banquet. Brought folks in, 2 of the charter members from 75 years ago attended. First 2 Eagle Scouts from the town of Enfield were from Troop 108, and both of the gentlemen attended. And there's about 140 people at the Holiday Inn celebrating the successes of Troop 108. And if you remember, there was some conversation a while back about having a showcase that was built to honor Bill Munsell, who was one of the founding fathers and passed away a couple years ago. And that will be displayed in Town Hall now that their 75th anniversary banquet has come and gone. And so folks from the town can see the honor to Bill Munsell. And so within a couple weeks, it should be located in the front area of Town Hall. I want to remind folks that the Memorial Day Parade, sponsored by the Enfield Veterans Council, will be this coming Sunday at 1 p.m. Normal parade route from Our Lady of the Angels Lawn north to on Route 5 to Town Hall in the Town Green for a ceremony. And then on Monday, May 27th at 11 a.m., we have the dedication of the Angelos Sferrazza Park at the Parsons boat launch area. And we encourage the public to come out as well and to attend that ceremony and honor the memory of Angelos Sferrazza and all the Enfield veterans who lost their lives in Vietnam. Any further councilman communications? Okay. Next on the agenda would be our town manager's report and communications. Matt.
Good evening, and I'm going to ask Jonathan Billness to step forward to give a brief presentation on the Abbey Road, Broadbrook Road intersection improvements.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Town Council. Tonight, I want to just summarize the recommendation on the Abbey Road, Broadbrook Road intersection improvements that was included in your packet. And at this time, after a number of discussions and meetings with DOT and all the public input, the improvements that are being recommended or that are in play right now all have to do with the sight line. A number of the other things that we talked about over the last 6 months or so are not being recommended either because the people in the town of Enfield weren't necessarily that interested in a roundabout or T-intersection projects, and or some of the other things that we were looking at with DOT, they were not willing to support at the end of the day for a variety of reasons. That included most recently the dynamic flashers, which we were hopeful that could be done here, and DOT originally said that they would do that next year at their cost, and they looked further at the geometry of the intersection and what would have to be done with some of the bidirectional roadways, and decided that they couldn't make it work to their satisfaction right now, and so they didn't want to pursue that. They are willing to pursue the dynamic flashers with the T intersection, but that was something that the town of Enfield wasn't interested in doing, so I'm not recommending we pursue that. That's a 2 to 4 year project and was much bigger than what we anticipated. So again, we're trying to address high vehicle speeds on Route 191, and right now we don't have anything to do that other than our local traffic authority doing enforcement. But we are addressing the sight distance issues on Abbey Road, and that's what's in the recommendation. And it's a combination of town efforts, and the DOT will be moving the equipment in the island at no charge to town of Enfield next year by bundling that with other similar type of traffic light intersection improvements. So at the end of the day, they did agree that that could happen next year, and actually tonight, if you agree, I need to get back to them to make sure they plug that into next year's schedule and bid that out for 2014. And for 2013, we will again continue to mow and trim trees in our existing right-of-way, and we are moving forward with efforts to cut back the banks, both north and south, of the intersection, and we've already had several conversations with the affected property owners and we're waiting to get final clearance on rights of entry, and then we will submit what's called a DOT permit, and we'll hopefully do one or both of those this year. It depends on the property owners and getting their acquiescence to doing that. So we are hoping to make significant progress this year on improving the site distance, which is one of the key issues there. Some of the other aspects of the project are not off the table. They're just not available this year, next year, and I think we should continue to talk to DOT about some of the other possibilities, widening the road or other things that are out there, but just not they're not possible in the next couple years, according to DOT.
Okay. Questions, comments from the council? Councilman Mangini.
Thank you, Jonathan. So I just want to clarify the summary on the suggestions from our Public Works Department is to not put the roundabout, is that correct? That had been considered at one point in time?
It's the roundabout that did not seem to have a huge amount of support from either the citizens or the council for a variety of reasons. We can go back into those.
No, I just wanted to
Okay.
clarify. I'm not a proponent of the roundabout by any means, and my reading, I actually read a couple of times the findings, and I just wanted to get clarification that I support the direction that you're going. I think it's a good plan. Again, I'm not a proponent of roundabouts, but just for clarification, thank you for that.
Thank you, Cindy. Councilman Arnone.
Yeah, I too support this. We've got that mostly from the public hearings, and a lot of people had some great input just with making that intersection a little easier to see with cutting them down, moving those lights, the equipment from the light equipment that's on the corner, making that site visible. How about the actual double fork coming out of Abbey Road? Is there any plans on because it's that left turn, I believe, that causes us a lot of trouble, and it's actually in our intersection end of it. Is that going to stay, and we're just going to clear up the sight lines?
Right now, we're planning to clear up the sight lines as part of putting the dynamic flashers in. DOT came up with a preliminary design for making the bi-directionals one way. So someone coming up would take a right turn, but they couldn't adjust the geometry so that you could safely take a left turn for trucks or buses. So the road's narrow, and they did not feel that could be done within their standards right now, so we're not doing that.
And I'd read the flashing lights are out, which I think would have kept some people up at night. I didn't think that was a great idea either, but the pad, the sensitive pad that would alert you, that's not out, or?
Yes, that was all part of the warning flashing lights. That's not on the table right now.
Right now. Okay, thank you.
Any further comments, questions? Councilman Hall.
Not on this particular, but the other end of Abbey, where it needed some paving, Jonathan. I figured we were on Abbey. I'd just ask about the repair at the corner of Stokers and Powder Ridge, which I brought up at the last council meeting.
We did look at that.
Okay.
I don't remember where we are with making that repair, but we did go take a look at that, and I know something's in the works. I don't remember exactly what it is.
Okay.
We'll have to get back to you through Matt.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Councilman Bosco.
At least something's finally getting done. as little as it is, at least we're heading in the right direction, so I'll be supporting it.
Councilman Crowley.
Jonathan, could you just clear up for me, what actually are we going to be doing? I've heard a few different things, and I just want to make sure we're...
Okay, we will mow and trim trees as we've always done, and I already talked to the staff today about making sure that's on some type of regular schedule, so we don't wait till grass or trees get overhung. That will help with site. And we are meeting with property owners. We've met with DOT on site, and then we've met with both property owners that we need to get approval to go onto their property to cut down the banks that are causing some sightline issues there. So that effort is underway, and I don't think we have an agreement yet with either one, but we're close. So once we get that agreement from the property owners, we have to submit a permit application to DOT, which they've told us would be expedited and would be at little or no charge to us. So, because that's DOT property, then it's the private owner's property, so we need approval from both of those entities. Once we get that, then we will go in with our town crews and cut down the banks. And hopefully, and then the plan is to plant with low-growth vegetation so it doesn't become a maintenance issue moving forward. And the equipment in the island that some people found to be problematic, that's DOT equipment, and as I said, they will relocate that next year. They'll go out to bid, they'll put that in a bid along with 10 or 12 others. They package them together. Enfield's actually not scheduled to be done next year, but as part of this discussion, they agreed to do it next year as part of the bid package. So they will move that equipment that some people have.
So basically, everything getting done is we're doing. They're not really doing anything.
No, they will move the equipment.
Right. I understand that. But I mean, the rest of the work that's going to be done, we are going to do.
Yes.
You know, I make a suggestion, if we just get some sewer work done out there, we can have some speed bumps put in. I think that would be a great idea, because any other place it always works well. We either have a swale or an overflow, so it would be perfect if we just did some sewer work out there. Thank you.
Any further comments,
Actually,
questions for
that's
Jonathan?
Water line works.
Right. Is there consensus to move forward with the improved Sightline 2013 and the improved Sightline 2014, which is the movement of the equipment?
Yes.
I see nodding heads and thumbs up, so you've got our consensus to move forward as
Thank you.
planned. Thank you very much.
Then a couple other things, thank you. Nope, you're free to go back out there until we call you back up. Just real briefly, a few other things to touch base on. May 22nd is Wastewater Appreciation Day. And in appreciation of that, residents are welcome to come to the WPC between 1:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. for tours. Don't drink the water it's offered, though. Just telling you.
They're going to offer water?
June 1st is the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at DPW.
First Saturday,
June 1st. And I think we've done a pretty good job of getting it out there. It's in all the newspapers and website. So hopefully people see that and know that that is the only opportunity this year for such collection. And finally, DPW has started and hopefully will be ending the Senior Center Trail Project. If you remember, the town received a $30,000 grant from DEEP to do a trail behind the senior center into some of the wetland areas for people. We're doing that all in-house, I believe. Correct? All in-house, and this week or next week could be completed. You're not so sure now? There's more to the story. Ta-da.
We hope to complete it later this week or next week, but in the next couple of weeks, we are using a contractor for a small portion of it.
Okay.
But
Most of it's in-house.
yes.
Very good. So we'll probably be looking to do some type of dedication of that sometime in the near future.
Great.
And that's all I have.
Questions for Matt? Councilman Kinsler.
Just two real quick ones. One, will the parcel of land that we were talking about in the public hearing have the ability to be connected to that trail?
Trying to think how it's laid out.
I thought they abutted each other at some point.
Yeah, they're close. I'm just not sure how it's
Just a
all laid
question to
out.
throw out to consider. And then the second one is up at Brainerd Park. Can you get back to me with whether you want me to contact Jim or someone else regarding, starting that as quickly as possible now that we've gotten that into the budget?
I believe they've already started talking about that. So
Okay.
we'll be
Just,
able to get a meeting put
keep me in the
together.
loop
Yep.
and, all right, thanks.
We
And
will do
Tom
that.
Arnone as well.
Most definitely.
And Councilman Crowley.
Just two things, Matt. Can you let me know if Renee Lane is on our list of streets that need to be done? If not, I think we need to take a ride down there, and something needs to be done with that street. It's got an actual cliff on the street itself. I can't speak for the rest of the streets. The only street I was on was that one, and it was terrible. And from what the residents said, it's been like that for quite a while. Is it?
Buckhorn.
Yeah, it's all part of Buckhorn. And the entranceway to Enfield High School has some pretty good potholes. If we can just get them patched up, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments for Matt? Matt, I have one. Could you put together, and possibly you're already working on it, but a fact sheet on the changes to the sewer usage fee? Just because we're starting to get questions about the individual impact on a ratepayer, and just bullet point highlights as to what are the changes, the rates are, things such as that. That would be appreciated, and then post on the website as
Yeah,
well.
one of the things that we've talked with the consulting engineering firm is actually not only adding those things, but also having a estimator put in there, so you can put in, how many gallons you use, what that, cost impact would be to you as well. So we're working to put all that together.
Okay. And since Councilman Crowley mentioned Enfield High School, I know we mentioned previously the condition of Fermi's driveway. If you could,
Same thing.
could you find out a status as to the filling in of that area as well?
We hit 90 today.
True. So the plants are open. Okay, thank you, Matt, and thank you, Jonathan. Town Attorney's Report and Communications, Kevin.
Thank you. Nothing formal today. We'll get this thing moving through. So.
Okay, any questions for our town attorney? Any questions? Thank you very much. Next item would be reports of special committees of the council. Enfield High School Renovation Building Committee. Councilman Crowley, any updates?
We actually had budget last week, and we didn't get down to that meeting, and they canceled the last one, so we haven't had that discussion as far as the selection process. It hasn't come to the council yet, so we'll get an update on that as far as where it is, and Kenny and I at the next meeting will come back.
Just to let you know, we are looking at potentially June 3rd to bring the CMR
Right.
selection to council.
Okay. We haven't had a chance to get back to the meeting since then, so.
And really, the reason for the delay in bringing the building committee here to report on the CMR is we're waiting for some feedback from the legislature on the proposed legislation to move up the funding for Enfield High School by
Right.
1 year, to get an idea of, are we dealing with the funding being pushed up by 1 year, or would we have to consider self-funding by the town for that year prior to getting reimbursement? So.
And just, when you say self-funding, I just want to make sure it's not that we're going to go take, it's part of our process of the money that
Correct.
we have to pay into the project.
Right.
That's the money that would be self-funded, so.
So hopefully by the beginning of June, we've got some guidance from the legislature.
Okay.
Councilman Edgar.
Yes, I know there's no formal report on the building committee, but the word around town is on the CMR that they have not taken the low bidder. And just to know in advance, I want full reasons why, because this is the second time, if it's true, And I definitely will be opposing that unless there's a reasonable explanation.
Further questions? Okay, so Enfield High School Building Committee report is done. Any other reports of special committees of the council? Seeing none, we'll move to old business. Appointments, town council, I believe all remain on the table. And items C, D, and E remain on the table.
Can I take item D off the table?
You can make a motion to
I
do so.
move to remove D from the table.
By Councilman Lee, seconded by Councilman Stokes. All those in favor, by a show of hands. Those opposed, any abstentions?
So Scott, through you to Matt, I think you were telling me a week or so ago that the town goes through a process with the public school system to report a whole bunch of data to the state of Connecticut on an annual basis. When is that finalized each year? Is there a due date that you're in September?
September, I believe, is our Director of Finance's answer.
Okay. Scott, given that, I'd like to move to remove item D from the agenda, and we'll revisit this in the fall.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Councilman Lee, seconded by Councilman Mangini to remove item D from the agenda. Any discussion?
The purpose is that there is a process developing now that we're learning more about where the town and Enfield Public Schools develop this report that gives a pretty detailed description of what goes into funding public education in Enfield, covers a lot of the metrics that the state's looking for. My goal in coming up with this discussion initially was finding a way to keep these things in the forefront, or at least accessible to parents and taxpayers, so that we can see, what's happening year to year in terms of progress, in terms of investments. My interest was particularly in terms of what the town side includes, custodial, debt service, buildings and grounds, investments and so forth, maintenance costs and so forth. It sounds like through what Matt's been explaining to me that they're doing a good job gathering that up, and it's part of a required report. It gets produced every September. So I'll be happy to revisit this in the fall.
Okay. Any other discussion? Then by a show of hands, those in favor of removing the item from the agenda, those opposed. Unanimous, item's been removed from the agenda. Completes old business. We move to new business. There is no consent agenda. Items, appointments, town council, roll to the next agenda. There's no managers' appointments listed, so we would have discussion resolution accepting the IAEP Local R1717 contract. Resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby approve the 3-year collective bargaining agreement between the Town of Enfield and the IAEP Local R1-717 NAGE SEIU Paramedics and EMTs Union dated July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2015.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Mangini, seconded by Councilman Kienzler. Any discussion? And this proposed agreement's been posted for over 10 days per the requirements of the council. Any discussion? Councilman Kienzler.
Yeah, just a thank you to all parties involved for coming up with a contract that was beneficial to all, and especially in these times, they did a really good job, and everybody worked under good faith, and we got it done.
Any further discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco. 4. Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copen.
4.
Councilman Kinsler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
We have 9 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution, discussion of modification of yard waste collection. Do we have any new information concerning this discussion?
No, we do not. And since we have a couple council members missing on that, I know would probably want to be a part of that. Do you want to hold off until
So
the next
hold off
meeting?
to the June 3rd meeting?
No, they don't.
Okay, so we'll hold off to June 3rd. That completes new business. We move to items for discussion. And we have four cultural art. Actually, we have 3 cultural arts and 1 Enfield Revitalization Strategy Committee that moved to the next agenda. We do have 1 cultural arts that we've moved to miscellaneous. And all other items have been moved to miscellaneous, so we move to miscellaneous. So the first item would be the Cultural Arts Commission reappointment of Barbara Kelly. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Kinsler. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Mangini. Any discussion? Any discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
Barbara Kelly.
Councilman Stokes.
Barbara Kelly.
Councilman Arnone.
Barbara Kelly.
Councilman Bosco. 4. Councilman Crawley.
Barbara Kelly.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
Barbara Kelly.
Councilman Kinsler.
Barbara Kelly.
Councilman Lee.
Barbara Kelly.
There's 9 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into an agreement with the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office. Resolved that the town manager, Matthew W. Koppler, is authorized to amend contractual instruments in the name and on behalf of the town of Enfield with the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office, project title Click It or Ticket, Wave 44 Enforcement Campaign, and to affix the corporate seal. By
Second.
Councilman Kinsler, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Any discussion? Councilman Lee?
Scott, through you to Matt, what exactly will Enfield Police Department be doing with these funds?
This one allows us to have more officers out on shift doing patrols on whether it's seat belts or other type of enforcement activities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
Against.
Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Councilman Kinsler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
Against.
We have, let me say that with me, 7 in favor, 2 against, no abstentions.
Then we have the requested transfer of funds for police services, $2,500. Resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfers hereby made. To police services overtime, $2,500. From general fund revenue, state grants, other, $2,500. Certified the funds are available. Lynn Nenny, Director of Finance.
So moved.
By Councilman Mangini. Seconded by Councilman Kinsler. Discussion. This is of the grant, of the item that was just approved. This is the allocation of those funds. Any discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
Against.
Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Councilman Kinsler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
Against.
We have 7 in favor, 2 against, no abstentions.
Next item is discussion resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into an agreement with the State of Connecticut Office of Policy Management, PVET grant. Resolved that the town manager, Matthew W. Koppler, is authorized to amend contractual instruments in the name and on behalf of the town of Enfield with the State of Connecticut Office of Policy and Management, project title police video equipment technology grant and to affix the corporate seal.
So moved.
By Councilman Mangini, seconded by Councilman Kienzler. Discussion.
Just, if I could, real quick.
Go ahead.
This is one of those situations where the state, through a Public Act 11-174, decided that all interrogation rooms had to be videotaped, which of course ours weren't. But on the positive side, they did put money forward for communities that undertook that to pay for those expenses. And we were able to receive $41,352.50, not only to put the technology in those rooms, but also for some of the other items that are listed on the cover memo.
Councilman Lee.
Is the IT department fully aware of these modifications, and they've weighed in on any impacts to service to the PD?
Well, I know that we had another project, if you remember last year, or was it the current year's budget, council allotted $38,000 to upgrade the internal and external system. And I believe they were working with them, and then when this came along, it helped then extend it. So I want to say the answer is yes, but I can't speak to that directly.
But you'll check?
Yeah, I
All
definitely
right,
will,
thanks.
yes.
Further discussion. Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
4.
Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Councilman Kienzler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
9 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Next item is discussion resolution, request for transfer of funds for Police Department Police Video Equipment Technology Grant, $41,352.50. Resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made to Police Video Equipment Technology Grant Technology Equipment, $41,352.50 from CIP Revenue 2012-2013 Grants Other State, $41,352.50. Certified the funds are available. Lynn Nenny, Director of Finance.
So moved.
By Councilman Mangini, seconded by Councilman Kienzler. Discussion. This is the allocation of the funds of the grant that was just approved. Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco. Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Councilman Kienzler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
4.
9 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Next item is discussion resolution authorizing the town manager to sign the performance contracting agreement with Siemens Industry Incorporated Building Technology Division. Whereas Siemens Industry Incorporated has submitted an energy performance proposal for Henry Barnard School, and whereas the proposal includes the installation of a new boiler, lighting system upgrades, and weatherization and building envelope improvements. And whereas the proposal was presented to the Town Council at its May 6, 2013 meeting, and whereas the Town Council supports and approves the energy performance proposal for Henry Barnard School. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council authorizes the Town Manager to execute the performance contracting agreement with Siemens Industry Incorporated Building Technology Division, subject to approval by the Town Attorney. By Councilman Lee, seconded by Councilman Kienzler. Discussion. Councilman Kienzler.
Yeah, this is the months-long Energy Task Force, the result of lots of work trying to find some good things to do that are going to save us money. And right now, Henry Barnard will, with the resolution being approved, become the school with the spotlight on it for energy savings and a model for future projects in the town that end up saving the taxpayers money instead of wasting it.
Put it bluntly. Further discussion. Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
Four.
Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Councilman Kinsler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
There's 9 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution. Resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into an agreement with a leasing company. Resolved that the town manager, Matthew W. Koppler, is authorized to amend contractual instruments in the name and on behalf of the town of Enfield with municipal leasing consultants and to affix the corporate seal subject to bond counsel and the town attorney's review. By Councilman Kinsler, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Discussion. Councilman Lee.
Are we expecting anything to come back from bond counsel that would impact this agreement?
Actually, we'll have Lynn step forward on this. This has been her project in terms of getting the lease, and she's been basically turning the thumbscrews to companies to save us money, so.
Not expecting anything. Typically, they review all our lease agreements.
Oh.
I had a talk with Bruce last week about this, and I'm not expecting any feedback, any negative feedback from
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
If I could just
Go ahead,
clarify Councilman Kinsler's comments. When you say waste, you mean because we're paying money to a utility that we shouldn't have to
That is
pay?
correct. I'd like to amend that comment to mean the excessive energy costs that we had been forced to spend, well, no choice of our own, now is remediated.
Thank you. And, through the work Lynn has been able to do, we're able to actually do a 12-year lease. It's a little bit more on the annual schedule, but it saves over $70,000 over the 15-year that we wouldn't have saved if we went, with the 15-year. So we get those savings quicker and more.
Why, thank you.
Any further discussion? Sensing none. Oh, Councilman Kinsler?
Just want to thank you, Lynn, because from what Matt just mentioned, the public doesn't really understand maybe all of the money that you save us by really hunting down how to pay for some of the things that we do the best way to not impact our credit rating, but to get the best deal. And this is one of those examples where she was just, when he says thumbscrews to the companies, you were diligent, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
4.
Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Councilman Kinsler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
There's 9 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution. Resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into an agreement with the Enfield Community Development Corporation. Almost all local CDBG programs use I'm sorry, that's not the resolution. Is that the thing? No. Whereas the town of Enfield has $180,000 in program income from revolving loan activities originated from the Housing and Community Development Grant Program. And whereas the Enfield Community Development Corporation, ECDC, was created to undertake certain redevelopment and economic development activities on behalf of the town, including small business creation and retention in the Thompsonville Village Center area. And whereas the Enfield Office of Community Development will oversee the Housing and Community Development Grant Program income and the subrecipient agreement with the ECDC and provide technical assistance to the ECDC to ensure compliance with all CDBG rules and regulations. And whereas the Enfield Town Council supports the mission of the ECDC and declares that it is in the best interest of the town of Enfield to attract and retain small businesses in Thompsonville, therefore making the village a more vibrant and attractive place. And now therefore be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council authorizes the town manager to enter into a subrecipient agreement with the ECDC to manage and operate a micro-enterprise loan program on behalf of the town.
So moved.
By Councilman Mangini, seconded by Councilman Kinsler. Discussion. Matt?
Real quick, and we do have representatives from the ECDC here if you would like to hear from them, but they have provided on your desk information regarding the MELP. MELP, that's what it is. They're not very creative over there.
All right, it
apparently.
looks good.
The Micro Enterprise Loan Program, which is the primary piece of work that will be done utilizing this $180,000 in program income. They've also included some background material as well as the breakdown on how the $180,000 will be spent and how they plan on carrying out those activities over the course of the next year or so. So I don't know if you have any questions, if you would like, Darren. Peter Bryantton is here, but he is serving dual functions for us right now. We have a development project that's going before the Zoning Appeals Board, ZBA, right now, so he's down there helping them out as well. So he would be here right now.
So why don't we have Darren and Bob come on up from the ECDC. We do have a question from Councilman Edgar first. Red?
Yes, I'd like to know if there's a cost to this.
Is there a cost to this? Can you define cost, Councilman Edgar?
Well, if we're going to enter into this contract, are we paying these people?
Yeah, well, out of the 180, and again, in the background material that's in the packet, they break down the 180,000, 144,000 of it's going directly to the loan fund and for small business development. There's 16,000 in there for program costs, advertising and marketing, I believe is what that is. And then there's 20,000 that'll be used for the administrative piece, management and technical assistance on the program. So I guess the way I would answer that question is ECDC is going to realize about $20,000 from the 180,000 towards the administration of that loan and program. Does that answer what you're asking?
Well, are we paying, I think it's milk, money to do this?
Well, the program administration, the 20,000 out of that 188 will go to the ECDC for that administration. So that would be who would be doing the work for us.
So you're telling me we're spending $20,000 for that?
Correct.
Further, Councilman Kensler.
Just to clarify, is the town picking up an extra $20,000 of cost that it wouldn't have before this? Or
No, it's all
it's money they're going to spend to administer their program.
Within that 180,000.
It's not general.
Right.
So it's not
It's not costing the town any extra money.
Correct. It's all contained within that program income.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Mangini.
Thank you. Thank you both for sticking around and answering questions and working on the project. The question I have, though, and again, I'll direct it to you, Darren. I don't know if you can answer, but talking about CDBG funds, those are federal funds, and those are few and far between at this point in time. Are we, is the town overseeing, do we have a liaison from the town, AKA Peter or Matt, overseeing the charge specifically because this is federal money?
Yeah, it boils down to we can't spend a dime without it going back to Peter, and then it goes to finance after that. So it's not like we get, it's not like the money shows up in our bank account tomorrow.
Okay.
It's just, we're basically administering a program the town already has and taking over the paperwork, taking over all that. And then we send an invoice to Peter that says, we have one loan for $15,000 we're going to give out. We get the 15, it goes to the recipient of the loan from there. There's, there's always, it's just like we have another agreement through the CDBG funds now, actually, where we're, to purchase and rehab properties. It's the same, it's
Loan
very
review.
similar language.
Loan review. And the reason for my line of questioning is simply because I know, from being active with the NLC, for years, the CDBG has always been questionable. Are we going to get it? Are we not going to get it? And I don't want to see our town be in jeopardy because we're not, I guess, following the guidelines.
Actually, most towns have a sub-recipient agreement with the CDBG money. Most of them have somebody that actually does administer this. Also, the goal is to make money off the money. you spend 100,000 on a house, you sell it for 140, then that all goes back in there. We're making money off of that because you're right. It's few and far between, and it could be years before we see another.
And you know how the federal government operates.
Yeah, it's
And-
government
and
years are
that's-
like dog years.
That's right.
One is 7. So.
And that concerns me. I just want to make sure that we don't fall through the cracks just because the federal government set forward yet another criteria that we didn't meet. So
Right.
I just want to make sure we're on.
We have, and what this is allowing is me to enter into a sub-recipient agreement. So there will be, there's 10, 15 pages probably, I can't remember the last page count on it, that spells out, what our responsibilities are as the town to oversee this and manage that money in relationship to the state Small Cities program where it ultimately came from, and then what ECDC's responsibilities are as well.
Okay,
So in the end, we will be responsible for that money. And as the backup material states, Peter Bryington will be overseeing that on our behalf.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, Cindy. Councilman Lee.
Just to back up, Cindy, your point that this isn't new CDBG money. This is program money that's at risk of going back to its source if we don't get particularly active. And I think that's the role that having a subordinated agreement allows us to do, is that these guys can really go out and advocate in the neighborhood for these smaller projects. Where prior to this, our community development office is like a one-armed paper hanger already. So I think this really helps get the money back to good use, which eventually grows and comes back to us in spades. What I particularly like about the strategy here and the way that this micro enterprise program is going to be organized is that it really puts things right where they're needed. We've had programs in the past, and Darren's certainly aware of it, where the entry point for a loan was so high and so burdensome that it kicked off, to wage requirements and the like. We know we're really trying to attract micro business, to some of these storefronts here in the village area and elsewhere around town. And I think this is the right program at the right time.
Any further comments? Councilman Edgar.
Just one further question. What is the reason that you, as the Development Corporation, can't do it yourselves?
Well, we can. It's just right now, this is an existing program that the town already had where the funds are already there, and they're not being used by the town and in jeopardy of disappearing. So eventually we'll be adding to this through, other funds and other sources. There are some other, businesses in town we're talking to and some other things to backfill some of this money as well. But this is kind of the starting point for a program that the entire goal is to get some of the smaller businesses enough money to stay afloat for now, or whatever they need to, and we'll be building on this program as time goes on.
And this is additional money from what we originally started the Development Corporation with?
This is it's a new program to come to us, yes.
Councilman Lee.
Just to reiterate what I think Matt said, the $180,000 is not being transferred to the Community Development Corporation. That loan money is earmarked as federally sourced funds that have to stay in the escrow account or the enterprise fund that it's sitting in. The Development Corporation is really just out there advocating for folks to apply and then marketing the program. And then on the back end, once a loan makes its way through the process and the funds are administered, there's certain inspections and steps on the backside of a loan that require some administration. They'll be taking over that role from the Office of Community Development.
Right. No, I didn't understand that. The money is not being transferred to them.
That's correct.
Yeah, there's I can tell you from the perspective of running a nonprofit, you can get all sorts of money for programs. You can get there's very little money out there to actually administer a program, to run them. We can find I can literally find 7 figures to construct a structure. I can't find a penny to pay the people to do it part of the time, and that's where some of this comes from. It's a lot of these programs, and this one at least helps. It's a short term, it's a quick fix, and get in there and help some of the businesses that are in there now.
Any further questions, comments? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
He stepped out.
Here, sorry. Councilman Crowley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
Most definitely 4.
Councilman Kinsler.
Just as much 4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
Councilman Bosco, do you care to cast a vote? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
We have 9 in favor, none against, and abstentions.
Thank you,
you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is discussion resolution to settle pending property tax appeals. Resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby authorize the town attorney Kevin M. Deneen or his designee to settle the outstanding tax assessment appeals in the following actions. 1, Walgreen Eastern Company Incorporated versus Town of Enfield, docket number HHB-CV-12-6016525S. The fair market value of the property to be $2,600,000 and assessed value to be $1,820,000. 2, White Diamond LLC versus Town of Enfield, docket number HHB-CV-12-6016699S. The fair market value of the property to be $6,800,000 and assessed value to be $4,760,000. 3, Brixmore GA Freshwater State Line LLC versus Town of Enfield, docket number HHB-CV-12-6016785S. The fair market value of the property to be $16 million and assessed value to be $11,200,000. 4, Centro Enfield LLC versus Town of Enfield, docket number HHB-CV-12-6016933S. The combined fair market value of the 7 properties to be $50 million and assessed value to be $35 million.
So moved.
By Councilman Mangini, seconded by Councilman Kinsler. Discussion, Councilman Kinsler.
Through the mayor to the town attorney, I know that we discussed this in closed-door executive session for some of these things, but is there something you can elaborate on for the public to just kind of understand what it is we're doing?
Following the reval, there's typically a number of appeals that are filed challenging the valuation of the particular properties. And we go through a process, goes to the Board of Assessment Appeals. If it's not satisfactory to the taxpayer at that point, it's going to be appealed to the Superior Court. And these are 4 of those cases that we have pending right now. Sometimes there is a dispute as to the valuation. We meet with a pretrial with one of the judges there and go through that. Some of these also involve some technical or other problems that are in there. That as we review that and we come to a resolution in some cases, otherwise we'll go to a trial and have it imposed upon us on that. So having reviewed these and met with the judge who pre-tried them, this is our recommendation to settle at these numbers. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Councilman Edgar.
Yes, it's pre-trial, so I'm going to vote for it. But I want it understood that I'm not very happy that it seems every one of these that goes to pre-trial, the town comes out on the short end. They're reduced so that we get less tax money. It affects the grand list and so forth. And I think the manager should look into the assessment company and see what's going on.
Thank you, Red. Any further questions, comments? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
4.
Councilman Crowley is out. Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
Painfully 4.
Councilman Kinsler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
There's 8 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Doubly painful. Next item, discussion resolution setting a public hearing on amending section 86-87 maintenance of sanitary sewers. Whereas the Enfield Town Council wishes to amend the language regarding the Town of Enfield's responsibility in repairing sewer laterals located within the town's right-of-way that connect buildings building sewers to the town's sewer system. And whereas the council believes the town of Enfield should be responsible for repairs of sewer laterals located within the town's right-of-way. And whereas the council believes that this amendment will provide for greater public safety and ensure road repairs related to sewer lateral repair will be done properly. Now therefore be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby schedule a public hearing to be held on June 3rd, 2013 at 6:50 p.m. in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, in order to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the amendment of the Enfield Town Code, Section 86-87, Maintenance of Sanitary Sewers.
So,
Moved by
second.
Councilman Kensler, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Matt?
First off, we do need to amend the time. We have a public hearing that evening at 6:50 already, so if we could amend that to 6:45.
Okay, is there a motion to amend the start time to 6:45? Councilman Arnone, seconded by Councilman Kensler. Discussion on the amendment of the time. Seeing none, by a show of hands, those in favor of the amendment, those opposed. Item's been amended.
Thank you. And as background on this, historically, the town has completed the work of fixing the sewer laterals that are in the roadway for building sewers. Recently, there was a clarification asked for, and when you look at the language that we're going to be changing, it doesn't explicitly say that the town is responsible for that work. And, you know, whether council wants to go forward with this is the question that's being asked. I think that there are a number of benefits for the town to continue doing that work. The downside is the cost. We are assuming that for that, but we've been doing that for many years now. The upside is that, you know, we have the control to make sure that the road gets fixed back to our standards without having to worry about people doing it not as good as what we would like them to do.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Councilman Lee.
Matt, for the public hearing, could you have staff draw up a representative diagram of what we're talking about here? Just to illustrate, you know, how a typical property is connected to the sewer, where this work is in question today, and how the change is going to help that along, and what the typical job entails, and just to help spell it out. Thank you.
Well, let me just say that there is no such thing as a typical sewer job.
The one in question, then.
So we'll give you, I mean, we can give you kind of what the, you know, what the parameters are in terms of, you know, how the lateral, where it, you know, crosses the right-of-way line and stuff like that. So that diagram will be easy. It just, you know, cost is going to be a hard issue because, again, a truly typical one could be, you know, 15-foot deep, or it could be 6-foot deep, or it could be 25-foot deep. It just depends upon where the sewer is and things like that. So it's hard to say a typical cost.
Okay.
Because each one's going to be very different.
All right. Typical repair, what that entails would be useful. Thank you.
Councilman Arnone.
I think it's not only the repair issue, but the issue is fairness also. If I were to live on Route 5, for instance, and I had to incur the cost of repairing the sewer in the road up to where it meets the main line, because my lateral, as they call it, goes to the main line, the price of the person living on Route 5, because it's a state road, because of the thickness of the road, is just astronomical compared to my road. If I was to have my road cut into, it would be much less than a state road. So it's really not fair for anybody in all means of where you live that you would pay more money, incur more costs. I've seen these costs, you know, for a lateral, typical lateral on a state highway on Route 5, for instance, you know, go as high as $80,000. I've seen homeowners pay on residential streets $4,000 to $6,000. So that's how incredible you can get on Elm Street, or, you know, with utilities and everything else. So it's just not a common practice. And I support this 110%. And I know the town has always done this. The budgeting's always been there because you've been budgeting for this in the water pollution control for back 84, like I said before, as far back as I can remember. And believe me, when a homeowner gets that cost of going into the road, with elderly that have to pay that kind of money, they just cannot afford it. It's not fair. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Councilman Kinsler.
And Matt, just to throw to the public now, so that to express whether or not they have interest in showing up, we're talking about from the sewer to where the town's easement ends.
Well, typically what we look at is what we call the right-of-way line. Right. So on a typical street.
My street, it's 12 feet 6 inches from the edge of the roadway in is right. Town right-of-way.
Correct.
That's where we would be talking. So if I had a sewer problem inside of that towards my home, I typically would be responsible for that, and under this new measure would still be responsible.
Still be responsible for that.
But the fuzzy area is from the edge of the right-of-way to the sewer.
Right.
And we're clarifying that language to help people out.
Typically, the issue is in the street, not in that section between the right-of-way line and pavement. I mean, very rarely do you ever have issues in that 5 to 6 foot area. It's always in the pavement. I mean, why else would we be doing this if it, weren't there? But so you're absolutely right. Wherever that sewer line is located, the main line in the roadway to the end of the right-of-way line, a good rule of thumb for the right-of-way line is the back of the sidewalk. So in most streets, if you go to the back of the sidewalk, that's where our right-of-way ends. Sometimes it's a little bit more, but generally it's right at the edge of the sidewalk.
Thank you.
Councilman Arnone.
And one more quick note, typically with a mainline sewer installation that a town that we would pay for to put a new mainline sewer in a road, we would stub, what they call stub. We would run a lateral from the main line to that 7 foot over the curb area. So that's typically always put in by the towns anyway, and that's another thing of ownership over the years, where historically the ownership of that line has been at that 7 foot off the curb line, and that's not a quote footage. But when we put a sewer in, we stub it and to that area too. So it's really our work. Just again, 2 cents. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
4.
Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copen.
4.
Councilman Kinsler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
There's 9 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
Next item, discussion resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into and amend a purchase agreement for a parcel of land from Demick LLC. Whereas the Enfield Town Council wishes to acquire a .24 acre parcel of land at 2 Chapel Street, which will provide an opportunity for the town to address future municipal and recreational needs. And whereas a public hearing was held on May 20th, 2013 to allow interested citizens an opportunity to express their opinions regarding the proposed acquisition of the property. Now therefore be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby authorize the town manager to enter into and amend purchase agreements subject to review and approval by the town attorney for the property from Demick LLC at 2 Chapel Street, identified as Assessor's Map ID 027/0162.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Mangini, seconded by Councilman Kinsler. Discussion. Councilman Edgar.
I think that for the record, the public should know the cost. The cost of this and any waiving the taxes should be put out to the public here.
Go ahead, Matt.
The land, well, there's 2 pieces, but it's all wrapped up together. The land piece is $200,000, and we're not waiving taxes. What effectively we were doing, and I don't remember the exact number, I think it's $21,000. So the sale price or the purchase price is $221, some change, and they will then be paying the taxes based upon that as well. So there'll be no tax waiver on this.
But essentially what we're doing is adding the cost of it to, the taxes to
Correct.
the cost of
Correct.
it. And they bring it back down. I just thought the general public should know this.
Thank you, Red. Councilman Arnone?
Yeah, and this property also, it's been an eyesore in that area next to the youth center, which it'll be used for to expand that area. It's a tenement buildings that overlook the pool where the kids swim. It's just a dilapidated apartment complex, and we're lucky it came up on the market to be able to purchase it for the good of that area and the good of the town. I'll be supporting this 100%, and it'll be a real addition to our youth center, the Angelo Lamagna Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Councilman Kensler?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Councilman Arnone said, the funds on this are coming from open space.
Yeah, this because we're going to convert this into open space and not have any development on that. So we have that addition to the Lamagna Center for those reasons.
So we're able to take existing fund pocket and use that money for that judiciously, and then gain the parking spaces that I go to park at Lamagna and it's terrible, and we want to get more people to be able to park down there. So it's going to add to the neighborhood and
Yeah, this will allow us to free up space on the corner that will allow us then to put additional parking for the Lamagna
where it
Center.
belongs.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any further comments? Councilman Edgar?
And demolition costs are how much and who's paying for it?
Ultimately, we will pay for that. We are collecting what those costs are.
Any further questions, comments? Just for the record, I'm in favor of this resolution. We've always struggled with the ability to have people attend functions safely at Lamagna. It's all on-street parking, haphazard, narrowing the street that passes by the Lamagna Center. And it's one of the biggest complaints that we get about Lamagna Center is the lack of parking. As Councilman Arnone mentioned, the two apartment buildings that overlook the pool area, we've also received concerns about folks using the pool, about people that are watching people and children at the pool. So I believe we're taking care of a couple of needs: parking, safety, and the relocation of the park that's on the corner to be the abutter to the pool itself. I think it lends to a much more kid-friendly area next to the Lamagna Center. And having parking right on the corner is a safety issue as well. Would rather have parking on the corner versus tucked behind or to the side of the building. So I think this is a great move for the town. Everyone complains that there's no parking down in Thompsonville, and this is one way that we achieve it. So I'll be supporting it. Anyone else? Councilman Crowley.
And just so I can, it's the property, not the buildings that we're more interested in.
Correct.
And that's where the value is to us. The buildings themselves really are in just total disrepair. And they've tried to get rid of them on the open market, and there's no takers, I believe. So this is a great fit for us downtown, and I'm happy with it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any further questions, comments? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
4.
Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
Abstain.
Mayor Copen.
4.
Councilman Kinsler.
4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
We have 8 in favor, 1 abstention, no one against.
Next item on the agenda is discussion resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into and amend a purchase agreement for a parcel of land from the estate of Stanley Jablonski. Whereas the town council wishes to acquire land on Moody Road in order for the town to address future municipal needs, particularly for the Public Works Department whose site is fully developed. And whereas on April 4th, 2013 pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 8-24, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend that the town council purchase property from the estate of Stanley Jablonski Jr., identified as Assessor's Map ID 075/0018, 075/0033, and 055/0026. Now therefore be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby authorize the town manager to enter into and amend purchase agreements subject to review and approval by the town attorney for property from the estate of Stanley Jablonski Jr., identified as Assessor's Map ID 075/0018, 075/0033, and 075/0026.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Kensler, seconded by Councilman Mangini. Discussion. Any discussion? Councilman Crowley.
I believe this is probably one of the smartest purchases we're going to make as a council for the future of the buildings and grounds and for public works. That's a great piece of property that abuts that structure we have out there now, and I believe that it was actually buildings and grounds that got rejected for site improvements down at their current place down on Prospect Street. For something that they wanted to do to add to that facility down there. So they're already bursting at the seams down there. So obviously we're going to be looking for a site in the near future, and I believe this is something that'll benefit the town for the next 20 to 30 years. So thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Any further discussion, comments? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Mangini.
4.
Councilman Stokes.
4.
Councilman Arnone.
4.
Councilman Bosco.
4.
Councilman Crawley.
4.
Councilman Edgar.
4.
Mayor Copeland.
4.
Councilman Kinsley.
4.
Councilman Lee.
4.
There's 9 in favor, none against, no abstentions.
That completes miscellaneous. Next item on the agenda is public communications. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council? Mr. Christmas. Remind you that please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes, and we ask that you please refrain from the use of personalities.
My name is Donald Christmas. I live at 25 Lincoln Street, Enfield, Connecticut. I come tonight to talk to you about Mullen Road. As long as I can remember, I've lived in that part of town. I've always used Mullen Road. We used to use it to go watch racing at nighttime. They used to race down that road. We used to ride our dirt bikes up and down the road. As far as I can remember, I've never, ever once seen one police officer ever on that road. Come to Townsendville, you see 20, 30 of them hanging around, sitting in parking lots. I've been a truck driver for 25 years, and living in Enfield, I know how to get from place to place in Enfield without going through any major roads like Route 5, Route 140, Route 190. Mullen Road is a fantastic raceway for a tractor trailer. You can get off exit 46, you can make that left almost 90% of the time without hitting the light, and if you bang enough gears, you can make it past Weymouth Road to Mullen Road, and you can go right up that hill about 50 miles an hour and come down the other side about 85, 90, about 80,000, 90,000 pounds. That road's not a state highway. We're bouncing around down there, big trucker trailers slamming up and down. Never, ever once ever see a police officer. I drive up and down that road every single day. I never have any problems making it. I'm down there doing 30, 35. I have my truck, my trailer, my car. I never go off the side of the road ever once. It's the truck drivers in Enfield that you use and abuse that road. I think that you guys like raising taxes. I think the trucking companies here in Enfield should pay an extra tax. Maybe you guys can collect some more money to fix the road. Be nice to get DOT there to stop them, because I know when those guys leave that plant over there, they're not leaving with 80,000 pounds on their truck. They're probably leaving more like 120, 140,000. Those guys are going down the road, wrecking that road, and they're hitting at 80 miles an hour. When you hit those manhole covers with that truck, you are slamming the heck out of that road all that way. I know what it can do. I've seen it happen over at CNS with our trucks over there, how fast they come down the road with down on King Spring Road. What 80,000 pounds can do over a period of time. It's not just those guys. Even like 140 is being worked on. They're putting sewers up and down the road so you don't want to get stuck in traffic. Mullen Road's a fantastic cut through to best all the traffic over there. You got dump trucks going down there, going down the Bash Road. They don't use Weymouth Road, the Steel Road. They come right down Mullen Road, and they're wrecking the road too. Because I guarantee you, if you had DOT on that road and they stopped them and weighed them, there's no way those trucks are in legal form. No way. I watch them on the road. They're all sideways. They're on their airbags. There's no way they can be legal, and that's really making a. You really need to fix that problem before you fix the road. You need to slow those trucks down. It's not a speedway. It's a two-lane highway, two-lane road. It's an old farm road. It's not made for that kind of road. And it's just amazing how fast people come down the road. I got people that live over there and people do business over there, and they say it's unbelievable how fast that truck or trailer can get going down Mullen Road. It's just amazing. That is my first thing I wanted to say. Second thing I want to say is Mr. Bill Lee and Darren Lamore, you guys are part of this Enfield Revitalization Committee. You guys do realize when you raise taxes that I don't pay them. I just pass them on to my tenants. You're trying to revitalize Thompsonville, and you're bringing people down here to try to get businesses going. Who's going to want to pay the high taxes and the high rent over here? Well, you can go to Windsor Locks, you can go to Suffield, any other places that are lower than us. We already have our challenges in Thompsonville. 50, 60 years ago, we used to be the king of Enfield. We're not anymore. It's, in order to get down Thompsonville, back up the par, you need to start leaving us alone and start giving us more breaks. The third thing I wanted to say is the town attorney is, I understand that you work for me because I pay taxes. We're your employer, which is a waste management thing. How are you going to get away with taxation without representation? It's our Constitution. If I fill my pool up with 25,000 gallons of water, it's not going through the sewer. Am I still going to get taxed on that? What if I water my lawn? That's not going to use the sewers. It's watering my lawn. It's not going anywhere near there. If I water my garden, what if I water my plants? Would I have to pay for that? And then as a landlord, I got 3 services coming to my house for three different people. Do I have to pay 3 times? All you're going to do is make me pass it on to my tenants, and the poor people in town again are going to get screwed again. I just think there's got to be a way to meter the water coming out of the house, because I know everybody doesn't use every gallon that flushes down the toilet or down the sink. There's got to be a way to meter that. I just think it's really, some people are going to make out and some people are really going to get screwed. And what about people that have wells? And what about people that are not going to use the water? What if people shut it off during the winter? They go down to Florida. They don't use it all winter long. So are they going to get charged for not being there? I'm just saying that there's going to be water moving. I just think it's an unfair tax. Or at least, if you're going to tax us, at least you should put a meter in the sewer so we know how much water is going out. We should pay a fair tax at least and know the water going out of the house. Thank you very much. Oh, one more thing.
Go ahead.
This thing about you're giving the Enfield Police Department about seatbelts and stuff like that. You do realize they're not going to do nothing but Thompsonville, right? They're just going to target us. I have never seen, I can drive down Mullen Road, I can drive throughout any part of town without my seatbelt. I come flying through Thompsonville, I get pulled over immediately. I can go anywhere, I could probably drink and drive anywhere through town and never get pulled over. I never see an officer anywhere else. They're all down here, concentrated down here. I come through here, it's 25 miles an hour. I got both hands on the steering wheel and I look straight forward and I don't do anything else but try and get into my driveway before they can pull me over. That's how shell-shocked I am with the police officers down in Thompsonville. And when you add that money to the Thompsonville Police Department, I guarantee you're going to ramp up Thompsonville. You're not going to ramp the rest of the town. I predict it already. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Christmas. Sensing there's no one else in the audience, is there councilman communications? Any councilman? Councilman Crowley.
Yeah, I'd like to send some best wishes out to a young man who pitches for the Enfield Fermi Falcons baseball team. His name's Dan Bernetti. He was pitching in a game, and a line drive came back and caught him in the eye.
Oh, did he?
And he's a real great kid and a great athlete, and comes from a good family. And I just want to wish him best wishes, and I'm sure on behalf of the whole council, I can say that. And speedy recovery, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Any other councilman communications? Councilman Lee.
Oh, I could probably I'll take this offline.
Any other councilman communications? Motion to adjourn by Councilman Mangini, seconded by Councilman Kensler. All those in favor? Those opposed? We are adjourned. Have a good evening.